Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a comedy adventure from 2001 titled Black Knight. Jamal Walker is an ordinary guy working full-time at a struggling theme park called Medieval World. The park's owner is concerned about its future due to financial difficulties and the upcoming opening of a competing theme park called Castle World. If they don't come up with new ideas, Medieval World will go bankrupt. One afternoon, Jamal is assigned to clean the park's surrounding ditch. He discovers a valuable-looking medallion in the water and tries to retrieve it, but he falls in and drowns despite the shallow water. When he emerges, he finds himself in a different place, which he assumes is Castle World, located near their park. Unbeknownst to Jamal, he has been transported back in time to 1300s England. The first person Jamal encounters is a drunkard named Nolt, who is wearing historical clothing. Jamal dismisses him as a costumed worker and continues to explore the city. He discovers a massive castle, which he believes is Castle World's main attraction. As he tries to enter, guards stop him and ask where he's from. Jamal responds with Normandy, referring to Normandy in Los Angeles, but the guards assume he is a French Moor they had been expecting the following week. They allow him in, and Jamal finds himself in a bustling market filled with people dressed in 1300s attire. Jamal is impressed by the theme park's accuracy, still unaware that he has traveled through time. He spots a beautiful girl named Victoria and approaches her, only to be interrupted by the cruel Commander General Percival. Percival, a royal guard, believes he owns all the women in town. His ego is hurt when Jamal stops him from getting too close to Victoria, and Jamal threatens to complain to the manager about Percival's misconduct. When Percival draws his sword, Jamal assumes it is fake and surprises everyone with his bravery. A stranger brings Jamal to the king at his request. The king has arranged for his daughter, Regina, to marry the Duke of Normandy, and he mistakes Jamal for a messenger. Still confused, Jamal plays along and randomly chooses a date for the Duke's arrival. Later, Jamal witnesses an execution, initially excited, thinking it's all an act. But when he picks up the decapitated head of a rebel, he is shocked and falls unconscious. Upon waking up, Jamal finds himself in his room with Victoria, wearing the medallion he found earlier. Victoria believes he is one of her people because their medallions are similar. The medallions are symbols of rebels tired of the king's cruel judgment system, who want to overthrow him and reinstate the former queen. Still confused, Jamal asks for the date and learns it is 1328 AD. Panicked, Jamal wants to return to his own time but is unsure how. They are interrupted by a guard who invites them on a horse-riding adventure. Jamal's lack of horse-riding knowledge amuses everyone, including the king, who invites him to a royal dinner. The party is dull, so Jamal enlivens it with his futuristic dance moves, turning it into the liveliest palace event ever. Amidst the party, Princess Regina, who has been attracted to Jamal since his arrival, kisses him forcefully, away from her father's watchful eye. Percival catches them and becomes furious at Jamal's audacity. At the same time, two rebels are about to attack the king. Jamal, hanging from a chandelier, accidentally lands on the king, saving him from the assailants. After the commotion settles, Percival is chastised for not doing his job, while Jamal is lauded and appointed head of security. Percival is consumed with jealousy and resentment but cannot oppose the king's decision. As head of security, Jamal has many responsibilities. He proposes reconstructing the castle entrance with his likeness to deter enemies. Before the plan is executed, the king assigns him another task, dealing with a farmer caught stealing a turnip from the royal garden to feed his starving family. Despite the desperate circumstances, the farmer faces execution for his crime. As the head of security, Jamal is responsible for carrying out the execution. However, when the king leaves, Jamal frees the poor farmer and gives him money for food. That night, Jamal requests the company of the finest chambermaid and chooses Victoria. He gets her alone in his room under the pretense of sleeping with her. Victoria wants Jamal to help the rebel group assassinate the king, but after witnessing the king's cruelty, Jamal declines. Disappointed, Victoria calls him a coward and leaves. At midnight, a woman enters Jamal's room and makes love to him. He believes it's Victoria and doesn't protest. The next morning, the real messenger from Normandy arrives, exposing Jamal's lie. The king, messenger and guards enter Jamal's room to find him naked beside Princess Regina. Percival accuses him of deflowering the princess against her will. Jamal argues that she wasn't a virgin to begin with, but no one pays attention. The messenger cancels the wedding, deeming Regina unfit to be a duchess. Jamal is thrown into the dungeon and sentenced to execution alongside the two rebels who tried to assassinate the king. In the dungeon, Jamal befriends the rebels who have accepted their fate. They tell him about the Black Knight, a legendary warrior who fought for justice and couldn't be bribed. In a battle, the knight was swallowed by a dragon but escaped by cutting himself out of its belly using a golden sword, killing the beast. Afterward, he gained the ability to breathe fire like a dragon. The following day, the trio is brought before a crowd for execution. In a panic, Jamal claims to be a wizard from the future with the power to burn everyone. He attempts to prove this with a lighter, but the lighter doesn't work. Just as he is about to be beheaded, the executioner chokes on an apple, leading the crowd to believe Jamal has cast a death spell. Jamal plays along, pretending to cast a spell on the crowd. A fire suddenly breaks out nearby, reinforcing his claim, but in reality, it is caused by rebels firing flaming arrows to rescue their people. With Victoria's help, Jamal and the others escape the castle. Jamal meets Nolt, a drunkard and former knight of the queen, who was once a great warrior before the king dethroned the queen and expelled him. Although now an alcoholic, the fighter within Nolt still exists. After spending time with the rebels, Jamal decides to help them overthrow the king. He sees three men harassing Nolt in the woods and intervenes, but is captured by the men himself. Nolt fights off the thugs, frees Jamal, and resolves to quit drinking and aid the rebels. Upon returning to the settlement, they find it devastated. Percival and his troops have destroyed it and abducted Victoria. As everyone loses hope, the former queen reveals herself, explaining that she has been secretly helping the rebels all along. Over the next few days, the group prepares for a more strategic attack. Jamal, with his knowledge of the future, teaches the rebels tactics from American football and pro wrestling, providing them a means to fight when needed. He also learns basic sword fighting techniques from Nolt. The day of the attack arrives, and the group, led by Nolt, prepares to fight for their lives. However, within minutes, they are surrounded by guards under Percival's command, outnumbered and forced to retreat. Suddenly, the Black Knight appears on the battlefield, causing the guards to flee in fear. He even breathes fire from his mouth. The rebels believe they are about to win, but the Black Knight falls off his horse, revealing himself to be Jamal. Percival prepares to kill Jamal, but Nolt intervenes and fights the guard. A fierce battle between the rebels and the guards ensues. Using the techniques Jamal taught them, the commoners manage to outsmart and defeat many of the guards. During the battle, the king pleads with Percival to bring him to safety. Percival, however, sees the king as weak and unworthy, and instead of obeying, he tells the king to shut up and pushes him into the castle moat. The tide seems to turn in favor of the rebels, but Percival shoots a longbow at Nolt, severely injuring him and takes Victoria hostage. Jamal, determined to save Victoria, uses the fighting technique Nolt taught him. Percival is caught off guard and struggles to hold his ground, but ultimately, Jamal defeats him and rescues Victoria. As Jamal helps her up, Percival rises, ready to kill Jamal. But Nolt, still alive, shoots Percival dead from the battlefield. The rebels emerge victorious, and Jamal becomes a hero. A few weeks later, it's time for him to return home. He bids farewell to Victoria with a final kiss. Before he departs, the queen honors him as the Black Knight of the kingdom. Sometime later, Jamal awakens to find himself back in his time surrounded by a paramedic and his theme park colleagues. They inform him that he drowned in a ditch and has been unconscious since his rescue. Logically, his medieval experience could be considered a dream, but Jamal believes otherwise. Before his journey, he wanted to quit his job to work at a higher-paying castle-themed park. However, his perspective has shifted. With his extensive knowledge of the medieval world, Jamal shares his ideas with the park owner, helping to make it more thematic and successful, even outshining Castle World's opening. 6 weeks later, while strolling through the park, Jamal encounters a woman named Nicole, who bears a striking resemblance to Victoria. They feel an instant connection, but Nicole has to leave to tend to her nephew. As Jamal rushes to ask for her number, he falls into the ditch once again. This time, Jamal finds himself in ancient Rome's Colosseum, facing imminent danger from hungry lions. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more videos.